This is your gaming weekly news. Digital Foundry calls Xbox's best two games the top graphics of 2024. Hellblade 2 Senua's Saga and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And number 3 being Star Wars Outlaws. Hellblade 2 was famously one of the best looking games that came out in 2024, but also had the fewest amount of gameplay segments of most games that you probably played in 2024, but it's undeniable that Ninja Theory really elevated and raised the bar of what games can look like in modern era. The game only runs at 30 FPS still. We're far beyond the normal 6-month limit where Xbox is able to get a patch out for 60 frames, but it's my opinion that Ninja Theory probably is not doing a whole lot right now other than planning their next project. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle really won over Digital Foundry with the visual art style and the immersive recreation of a 1980s film for Indiana Jones. In my review, I said that even on id Tech 6, Indiana Jones doesn't even look anywhere near up to the quality standard that we've seen of most games right now. I wasn't super impressed with the way Indiana Jones looked, but it turns out that a lot of other critics thought the total opposite, and they give Indiana Jones number 2 in the spot of graphical showcases that came out this year, along things like Myth Wukong, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and so much more. It's interesting to see Xbox take top marks for anything, and when they do, the PlayStation fans, it seems like they're the ones who get upset the most this generation. They have a lot to say about Xbox getting any sort of praise at all, saying things like, oh, it's just a walking tech demo for Hellblade, and oh, nobody cares about boring old Indiana Jones and Uncharted 4 better, and nonsense like that. But the truth is, Xbox is making some really great games, and there's so much to look forward to, which we'll cover a little bit later here in the video. But now, Hellblade 2 and Indiana Jones The Great Circle, number 1 and number 2 best looking games according to the tech experts Digital Foundry. Netflix's cult hit new TV series The Secret Level has been showcasing and lampooning video games from the beginning of time up until games coming out right now. And its popularity has sparked the interest in games, getting people excited about their favorite franchises and even going back to play them. Turns out, according to a new report from the production team at Secret Level, they went to Microsoft to ask if they could do a Doom and Halo collaboration episode, and Microsoft said, quote, nah. This really upset gaming fans, especially Halo fans, who are wondering why Xbox continues to step on the rake when it comes to one of the most prolific franchises in gaming history. Halo has seen its fair share of rakes stepped on, and the franchise is really struggling to have the same popularity it had some 15 or 20 years ago. It turns out that Microsoft, Xbox, or Halo were not the only ones to say no to this collaboration. Valve also denied the permission to use Half-Life 2 in an episode. It seems like if they have something else in the works and they don't want someone else using their IP, I don't think it's the right decision. I've watched a couple episodes of The Secret Level and I haven't been impressed. I think there's some other ones that people have said are really good and other ones are not very good. I think if you're Microsoft, you need to take every opportunity you can to get your IPs, your franchises, and your games out in front of many eyes as humanly possible. The keen eyes of Windows Central's Jez Corden saw a patent applied for a new next generation dubbed Project Sibyle. The controller is detailed as a direct-to-cloud similar to Stadia, and a new patent files it's showing to be mostly the same Xbox controller, but it seems that the grips have a new haptic motor that can direct high-definition impulses. This patent describes how new motors are spread throughout the device and should actuate consistently irrespective of how the player moves the housing of the controller. The patent also describes the pulses and vibrations can be tuned to mimic a wide variety of sounds and motions, much like the DualSense 5 controller, which came out in 2020. It's about time for Xbox to get into the 2020s with their controller, but there might be a bit of a wait. Xbox fans have been waiting for this controller that has actual haptic feedback, but the concern is that developers would have to make these haptic features available by porting them or developing them into games. But the new patent also describes that the haptic motors will be able to mimic previous style vibrations for backward compatibility on your games. Another cool feature is that the controller will have a lift to wake feature, meaning you could just pick up the controller if you set that setting on, pick it up off of your couch or table, and it will directly power on, giving you quicker access. Also, direct to cloud access means it will be able to connect easily to other devices, which can be a pain sometimes on Windows or handhelds or other tablets. The controller will also have a new Bluetooth protocol, which will make it more compatible across all different devices and make it much faster and eliminate latency. The problem being that this controller needs to come out right now, and Xbox plans to put it out in the launch of next generation around 2027 or maybe as late as 2028. This isn't what Xbox should be doing. If they can get this controller ready as soon as possible, they should use it now, as they are telling everybody you can get the full Xbox experience on nearly any device that has Xbox Live, Xbox Network, and Xbox Game Pass. And if you're letting people get the full Xbox experience, having a brand new controller with haptics that will make it feel more modern and next generation is actually the bridge gap they should be doing right now. One of the most popular games of 2024 is Myth Wukong, and it famously got pulled to have support and porting over to the Xbox Series S and X consoles. This happened around summer of 2024, and the developers stated that they had problems getting the game ported and running performance issues on the Xbox Series S. Microsoft immediately spoke up, and Xbox team said this wasn't the issue. Myth Wukong would run on the Xbox Series S. As it turns out, PlayStation actually paid for exclusivity, and not in the way that they normally do. This game was supposed to launch on consoles, but PlayStation wanted to make sure that it got onto console as soon as possible instead of waiting after the PC release, and they paid in to get this game, which made it de facto exclusive to the PlayStation 5. Xbox sat there and did nothing, knowing that the game would also be able to be playable on Xbox Series S. Now Game Science this week is saying again that the Xbox Series S is a problem. This shouldn't be surprising, as on the PS5, it barely even runs there. The game on PS5 uses heavy interpolation for resolution and pixels, and also uses frame gen to get a quasi 60 frames mode, which runs around 45 to 55 frames on average on the PS5 and even the PS5 Pro. So you could see that they wouldn't be lying that the game would have many problems on the Xbox Series S. Maybe the game would only run at 30, and if I was Game Science, I wouldn't want Myth Wukong running at 30 FPS on a console. But there are no excuses to give here. The Xbox Series S is limited by its RAM pool, 10 gigabytes, when the Steam Deck has 16. 16 gigabytes being mostly on PC, the minimum spec right now in modern games. And the Series S with just 10 is still a problem for some developers. But let's not kid ourselves, 90 to 95% of games are running and ported and released day and date on the Xbox Series S console. Outer Worlds 2 and Avowed are coming from Obsidian, and there are so many more games which we're going to show here that are coming out from the Xbox Game Studios team and their publishers. It looks like a fantastic year for Xbox, but still, the games journalist segments are still concerned about Xbox and it's do or die no matter which game is set to be released. A recent article from Fandomwire says, with Avowed and Outer Worlds 2, Obsidian's 2025 is stacked, but either one failing will hurt Xbox badly. How many times are we going to hear this? We heard it with Starfield, we heard it with Redfall, we heard it with Hellblade 2, we heard it with Indiana Jones. Most of Xbox's games have done fairly well, have boosted Game Pass subscribers, although fairly small, but there has been success across the Xbox platform regardless. The problem with this article that I have to outline is that it's always a do or die, where they outline that the consoles are not selling. Xbox consoles have slowed down their sales significantly. And why wouldn't they? They have told you since 2016 that you do not need to buy an Xbox if you want to play their games. This is what Fandomwire's article said. Xbox games have a history of failing at launch. For example, Anthem, Mass Effect Andromeda, No Man's Sky, Redfall, and Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Oh, I had a good friend that told me anybody can make a website and anybody can write articles and be a games media journalist, but Anthem, Mass Effect Andromeda, and No Man's Sky are not even Xbox's games. In fact, No Man's Sky didn't even release on the Xbox till over a year after it released as exclusive to PlayStation. This is the problem, the cognitive dissonance of fans, the perception they have of Xbox, where they don't even know which games even come from Xbox themselves. Of course, Redfall was a massive failure, closed the studio, it was awful. Mass Effect and Anthem are EA's games and BioWare's games, and No Man's Sky, here's the problem. Xbox has more than one way to measure their success, and most of the success is measured by monthly active users, which Xbox is doing a phenomenal job with. Their revenue is actually higher than Nintendo's right now. The whole concept of saying Xbox is do or die, if Avowed, and this is my prediction, Avowed may come out at a high 70, and maybe it won't boost Game Pass subscribers very high. It's not a very big game in and of itself. Now, the success of Xbox does not live or die by how many consoles they sell, and it certainly doesn't live or die by how many games they sell. And until people like the games journalists that don't understand that Xbox has a measured success, we're going to continue to hear until the end of days as every single game comes out. Doom, the Dark Ages. If Xbox doesn't nail this, it's over. And then it'll be if Fable doesn't just kill it, it's over. And yeah, that's just what you're going to have to deal with if you're an Xbox fan. They're doomed for eternity. 2025 looks incredible, and it's pretty phenomenal. A couple of these games will probably slip into 2026, and at this point, they might just have to, because there are too many that are going to be set in the last half of 2025, because the early part of this year is already stacked. In a week or so, we'll get an announcement for the Developer Direct, and that's where we'll get the big highlight for the games that are coming in this year. This is a really good time to be an Xbox fan. This is Colteastwood, and that is your gaming weekly news. Thank you so much for checking this video out. What a great holiday season it's been. What a great end of the year. There's been so much going on. And in a week or so, it's going to ramp up again. As on this channel, I'll have reports, I'll have previews, and I'll have reviews for games. There's a ton to cover, especially when we get into the middle of January. From then on, it's totally packed. If you ended up enjoying this video, let me know by liking and subscribing to the channel. Hit the bell to be notified of new content. If you want to further support what we're doing here on the Colteastwood channel, I need to take a breath. You can hit the join button below. That'll get you early access. It's over here. Early access for videos. That'll get you a specialized custom badges that I created that you get for each of the tiers that you're in for the channel membership. Also, check out the Patreon. Join the Patreon. That'll get you access to that as well. And there are tiers where you can choose what you want to support the channel. That keeps the lights on, and it keeps everything just cranking along. Appreciate everybody's support. Check out the Ecstasy podcast. That will be every Monday, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Pacific and Eastern, respectively. But thank you so much for all your support. Let me know what you thought about this week's gaming news. Which thing interests you most? Are you caring about the new controller? Are you really looking forward to playing Myth Wukong on your Xbox Series S at 30 frames per second? It'll be a great experience. Let me know what you think in the comment section. And while you do that, as I always say, please be nice.